I call to order the meeting of the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge, November 8th, 2021, regular meeting, 6:30 p.m. I ask all to stand for a moment of silent reflection of our veterans who have given their lives and those who have returned from home after service to our country. And then we will have this pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Statement of compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification on January 8th of this location, date, and time to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by posting of the same on the municipal bulletin board and the borough website, and a filing notice of the same with the municipal clerk. Roll call.
Councilwoman Steve is absent with prior notice. Councilman Kenigo.
Here.
Councilman Godier.
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Here.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Here.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Here.
Mayor Capeleo.
Present. Here. All right, everyone. So we're going to do two swearing-ins after we move resolution 21-302. Could I have Councilman Gaudier move, and could I have Council President Kenigo second the appointment of the Borough Clerk, resolution 21-302?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Kenigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, so that's been unanimously approved. And welcome to the River Edge family. We're glad to have you here. We're going to swear you in first. And so, Ann, I don't know if anyone's with you. If you want to bring them on camera, you can.
My son is here.
Nice.
There he is.
And if you would like, if you have a Bible or Quran or Torah that you would like to use, you may. If not, we ask you simply to raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Ann Dodd,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I
and that I
will bear true faith and allegiance
will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the government established in the United States
and to the government established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I state your name.
I, Ann Dodd,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties as Borough Clerk
perform all the duties as Borough Clerk
of the Borough of River Edge
of the Borough of River Edge
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right.
And we're glad to have you joining the River Edge family as our new Borough Clerk. Is there anything you'd like to say at this time? You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you'd like to, you have the moment.
I just want to say that I'm very excited to have been selected for this role, and I'm really looking forward to serving the residents of the Borough of River Edge and the governing body.
We are glad to have you too. Thank you, Ann. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew, You were approved, our resolution was approved at the last meeting for you to join our fire department as a junior firefighter. Andrew, are you capable of turning on your camera? And you must open your mic. If you could do both of those, that would be great.
No problem.
All right, Andrew, welcome. So Andrew, you are going to be one of our newest firefighters, junior firefighter. It's a tremendous amount of preparation. We are so grateful that you are willing to volunteer this time for public safety, for service to the community. So thank you. Andrew, is there someone here who you want to bring on screen as you are sworn in?
I guess my dad.
His parents are here.
Good. Stay in the screen. Stay in the screen.
Oh, I just came home from work, but yes, okay.
Well, you don't have to. You don't have. I just didn't want you to feel like you could. So Andrew, we've already passed the resolution. So now you'll take your oath of office, okay? If you have a Bible or a Quran or a Torah that you'd like to put your left hand on and raise your right hand.
We don't
Just raise your, that's fine.
Okay.
You can just raise your right hand. You don't need to. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. I state your name.
I, Andrew Capuano,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I
and that I
will bear true faith and allegiance
will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the government
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
Halfway there, doing a great job. All right. I state your name.
I, Andrew Capuano,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
as a member
as a member
of the River Edge Volunteer Fire Department Junior Firefighter.
of the, wait, can you restate that?
No, we'll break it up. Hold on. Of the River Edge
Of the River Edge
Volunteer Fire Department
Volunteer Fire Department
Junior Firefighter
Junior Firefighter
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Andrew, you can take a minute or two if you like to make a comment, but if you don't want to, because if you're good without doing that, that's okay too. Do you want to say anything about becoming a junior firefighter?
No, thank you.
All right. All right. This will be on YouTube and then it will be on the Mayor of River Edge Facebook page. And so we are grateful for your volunteerism and thank you. And if you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting, you are welcome to. But if not, you're free to go.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Okay, before we begin anything else, we have unofficial results. We're waiting on the official results, but we can say with some certainty that congratulations to Councilwoman Kaufman on her reelection.
Thank you.
And Councilwoman Claudiana Muliari on her election to the River Edge Council. So it will be made official somewhere between now and December 3rd. We're waiting on a few more steps in the process of certification, but we are very, very grateful for for the return of Councilwoman Kaufman and for the joining of the council with Councilwoman Molinari. All right, so here we go. We are now up to minutes. So we have 3 minutes to approve. We'll do this as a group. If any member of council needs to abstain when their name is called, they can say that they're abstaining for this part of the minutes. So could I have Councilwoman Kaufman move and Councilwoman Monticello Cohen second to the following? Approve the minutes of the mayor and council regular meeting of October 25th, 2021. Approval of the minutes of the special meeting of the mayor and council of October 28th, 2021. Approval of the minutes of the closed session meeting of the mayor and council of October 28th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It is not debatable. Roll call.
Councilman Canito,
Abstain for October 25th and yes on October 28th, both. Thank you.
Pierre,
Joe, that's you?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
I need to abstain from the regular meeting of October 25th. I wasn't here, and yes for the October 28th, both minutes.
All right, we're up to discussion, and what I'm going to do is a little bit different from what I've done before. I'm going to ask our BA to, because these are really discussion points that our BA has brought to us, either through a request of myself or the council. But Lizette, why don't you moderate this part, and why don't you begin?
Okay, so the first item that we have and our Chief Financial Officer, Chris Battaglia, is joining us. We also have our police, well, we have our police chief in the meeting, but we don't need him at this point. We have our fire chief, Sanders. The first item involves the Scott Pack replacement. And with this topic, our fire department applied for a grant under the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, which is a grant program administered through FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and it is highly competitive. When Chief Sanders was presenting his capital budget for the fire department over the 5-year plan, he did mention that if the borough was not awarded the grant, to anticipate in the 2022 capital to appropriate $300,000 for the Scott Pack replacement. This is an extremely vital piece of equipment that our firefighters need. Unfortunately, we were not awarded the grant, and based on the quote that the Assistant Fire Chief Caridi had received, it's very close to that estimated amount. It's about $284,000. And that is the price that the company is holding through the end of the year. And as you know, we are in an economy right now with several product shortages and price increases. By January 1st, that price can go up in the tens of thousands of dollars. And by the time the regular capital bond ordinances are adopted, which is near Memorial Day, that could exponentially increase more. So the intent, and this is where Chris's expertise comes in the finance sector, the intent is to adopt a bond ordinance to cover the financing in order to purchase the Scott Packs now at today's current price due to the volatility of the market. And Deputy Chief Caridi is also on if you want, if Michelle, if you want to move him over, since he received the quotes also.
So, Lizette, do you,
Yes.
Ms. Apertola, do you think that this, why don't we do it this way? Because I think it would be more efficient use of our time. Does any member of council wish to ask a question as soon as we, as soon as either the chief or the assistant chief just explain for the public edification what a Scott Pack is so that they know, and then we can have the council ask questions. And from there, if the two chiefs can then make comments as needed. So, so why don't we, if it's okay, let's proceed in that fashion. Are you comfortable with that, Ms. Apertola?
Absolutely. And then our Chief Financial Officer can explain what financing, how it will work, because we have anticipated, if the governing body should move forward, a bond ordinance for introduction, as well as resolutions to amend the capital budget and to authorize the emergency purchase.
Okay, so let's do this. Chief Sanders or Chief Caridi, you could give a very brief explanation of what a Scott Pack is and its purpose in the firefighter mission. And then if Chris, if you could give a explanation, a brief explanation of the funding and the bonding, and then we'll turn it over to council questions. I do think the council is very informed on this topic, but we want to have a process, and if it's okay, we're going to follow that process. So Chief Sanders, Chief Caridi, if one of you could just explain to the public what Scott Packs are and how they're used.
Thank you, Mayor. The Scott Packs are what they call a self-contained breathing apparatus. It's if you watched Chicago Fire or Station 19, any of those fire department related TV shows, the mask that they wear and the bottle is on the back that they wear on the back with it, that's encapsulated in a harness. That's what they call a Scott Pack. It's got about half hour worth of breathing air in it. When we go into smoky conditions, hazmat conditions where we not able to breathe the regular air, we wear this mask and we with the bottle turned on, and we this way we're able to work in a high volatile area. The bottles that we were getting were they're due to the bottles that we were replacing are being replaced due to them being expired. So we're not able to use them after a period of time, and I believe it's a 15-year time period. The Assistant Chief may have more, probably has more information that we need.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. So as the chief said, the self-contained breathing apparatus, or Scott Pack, as it's called, allows us to operate in a IDLH atmosphere, immediately dangerous to life and health. All of our air packs were last purchased in 2004, and there's been at least 2 National Fire Protection Association upgrades on our air packs. To give you an example of how dire that we're in, the current air packs that we use, the circuitry boards, are no longer manufactured. They're no longer supported. So every time we send an air pack out for repair, it's basically being taken from a traded in air pack from another department, and we're just band-aiding these air packs. So they're vital to our operation. They're vital to a firefighter's operation in any type of building. So it's something that is desperately needed, and that's why we're asking for this request.
All right, great. Mr. Bagley-Terry.
Thanks, Mayor. So if the governing body approves of this purchase, we actually prepared 4 items for approval. It's really, it's typically 1 item in the year that you would see, but because of the timing of this, you're seeing 4 because it's a workaround to get it into next year's capital plan. So the first item is an emergency authorization. That amount is for $270,000. And that gives us a legal appropriation to be able to award this contract. We can't award a contract without the legal appropriation. An ordinance will take introduction and adoption to become effective. So the emergency authorization grants us the ability to spend against that appropriation immediately. So tonight you'd be able to award that project, or the next meeting you'd be able to award the purchase, and we'd be able to charge it against that appropriation. The next resolution that you see is a resolution for another emergency authorization for capital improvement fund. when we adopted our capital ordinance and ultimately our 2021 budget, we had included enough in our capital improvement fund for our 2021 capital projects. This was anticipated for 2022, so we did not include enough for this one. The emergency authorization, again, establishes that appropriation to be able to fund the 5% requirement for an ordinance to be able to cover this expense. The next resolution, the next ordinance now is the actual bond ordinance. That, similar to ordinances that we did earlier in the year for the 2021 projects, authorizes debt against the project, and it also creates an appropriation in the capital fund. In order to adopt this or introduce this ordinance, we have to have the capital improvement fund, which is why that emergency also exists. And then the final resolution is an amendment to the capital plan. You have to amend your capital budget anytime you approve a project or a purchase, and that is more of a formality, just doing that. If we move forward with all of these items, the $14,000 from the capital improvement fund will be required to be raised in full in the 2022 budget. That's not any different than if we were to do this in 2022, because we would have included that amount in our 2022 budget in order to support the 5% requirement on this project. The $270,000 authorization, normally an emergency authorization would be required to be raised in the next year's budget. However, this one specifically will be basically removed. It'll be superseded by the ordinance that we adopt for the project. So the emergency creates that legal authority to be able to take action immediately as soon as the ordinance takes effect after the 20-day estoppel period. So in this case, we would introduce it tonight or at the next meeting, depending on the governing body's pleasure. We would adopt it at the following meeting. There would be a 20-day estoppel period, and that ordinance would be effective. In being effective, it would also effectively cancel the emergency authorization that we adopted tonight. So that 270 will go away. We will not have to worry about that in a 2022 budget. And the only thing that will remain is the ordinance for the full amount of the project, and the $14,000 capital improvement fund, again, which would have normally been raised in the 2022 budget to begin with.
Well said. Thank you. Any member of council, question, comment?
Mayor, I just have one question for
Sure.
either Chief Sanders or Deputy Chief Creedy. What's the lifespan of the Scott replacement packs?
So if you grant us this purchase, you're not going to hear from us for air packs for another 15 to 18 years.
Thank you.
The member of council. As I mentioned before, the council is pretty much up to speed on this. Oh, wait, did I cut someone off? Did someone wish to speak?
That's okay. It was just me, Mr. Mayor. I was just gonna chime in and say, I think it's a no-brainer. Our professionals are telling us what we need to do, and I think we have to listen to them.
All right. So if there's no further question at this time, then we're going to move on, and the council will then be able to vote on it when we get to our ordinances and resolutions. Thank you, Chief Sanders, and thank you, Chief Caridi.
Mayor, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
So the importance of this, and I understand what Chris was saying with the 20-day estoppel period after the second reading. What's key on this is the vendor getting a PO and these being ordered by January 1st. So that is
My
critical.
anticipation, given the council's response and our previous response to safety equipment for our firefighters and our police department, is that the council will approve the first reading tonight. Then on the, I believe it's the 22nd of November, we will have the second reading, and that will, and then we'll be done and the PO can be issued.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you should be able to issue the PO at the end of November, the beginning of December.
Okay,
Mayor,
thank
can
you.
I jump in for a second?
Sure, go ahead, Chris. I mean, Mr. Bagtaglia.
In adopting the emergency authorization, it will actually give us the ability to issue the PO immediately. So we would want to add a resolution. I don't know if it's on for tonight's agenda or if we'll add it to the next one. We'll add a resolution authorizing moving forward with the purchase, and we'll be able to issue the PO as soon as that is done. operating under the assumption that the emergency authorization is approved tonight. And that's the reason for that emergency authorization rather than just waiting for the ordinance.
It
Lizette,
will
I
be,
believe-
it will be listed for the next meeting because we weren't sure procedurally how the governing body, we will not make any assumptions on what the governing body was about to decide on how to proceed. So knowing this, by introducing the ordinance and adopting the supportive resolutions, next meeting, you'll see the resolution for the purchase and the vendor is under state contract.
All right, well said. Thank you. Thank you all. Ms. Apertola, go ahead.
Okay, the next item is something that came up on Friday. As you all know, the library also received a grant for their flex space project that includes HVAC upgrades and the installation of a generator. So, and the library director is on, as well as the president of the library board, if Michelle can move them over. So we conducted the bid opening and the lowest bidder came out to about $627,000. The library is expecting to receive a grant of $263,000. And the borough did obtain some funding through a bond for this project. However, there's not enough money in the bond to cover it, and you can't award a project knowing that you're getting a grant. You still have to front the money in full. And so in order for us to award the contract to the lowest bidder with the built-in contingencies, we would have to, and it's not on this meeting for action, we would need to authorize that through another bond ordinance to cover the balance. It would be a total of $375,000 additional. But once the grant funding does come in, based on the periodic reporting that would have to be made to the state, then that would offset the debt. If we reject the bids, there's no telling what the next set of bid prices may come in. And the architect had vetted the lowest bidder. They're not under the barred list and they have a good reputation. So the architect is recommending, if the funding can be secured, to move forward. And that way the library could get their project moving along during the course of the winter.
Okay, so at this point, I think Dara and Maxine, why don't you, if you could just make a brief presentation and then we can go to questions and answers like we did with Scott back. And we'll see what the council's feeling is about this.
Would you like me to speak first then?
It's up to you and the president of the board.
I know Maxine will have words to say, but basically our grant program calls for, as Lizette had mentioned, HVAC overhaul badly needed for many, many, many years now. A new generator so that we can be up and running in the aftermath of the next disaster. Multi-purpose room. We're going to be using that a lot in the coming years, and a children's service desk. And so we managed to, with a very highly competitive program, we managed to win out of hundreds of applicants. I think only 30 something winners were announced, and we were one of them. So we managed to secure, we hope, $263,000 in matching funds.
I
Ms.
wanted to
Rumsby?
add to that. Yes, I just wanted to add to that. In addition to the $263,000 in matching funds that we have, we also had received $40,000 towards the multipurpose room, or the flex space as we're calling it now. And that was through donations, and we had some generous people who willed money to the library, and also the friends of the library. We are using part of that money to fund it was meant to fund the flex space, but we're actually winding up to fund the ADA desk. And I know that Dara can speak more about that, but basically The library itself has raised $40,000 in funds. That would not, after the payment for the desk, we would have $15,000 in funds remaining that would be added to the $263,000 grant.
Excellent. Council, questions, comments?
How much was the bid, the lowest bid?
$627,000.
So we're
The
being asked,
highest bid was 1.1 million.
how much money are we being asked for?
An additional debt authorization of $375,000.
I think this is something that the finance committee needs to meet on.
Well, it's important, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's important to note that part of that money will be refunded by the grant, $263,000 worth.
Right.
Part of the 375 is being refunded?
Yes.
Okay, so how much money are we actually asked to lay out in the end?
Answer that.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
please.
Chris.
So the lowest bidder is 627,000. My understanding is that they're recommending, or the engineer is recommending, a contingency of 5%. That brings us to a total of $658,000. In the 2018 ordinance, we have a balance of about $290,000 related to repairs of the library that we can use towards this project. That leaves us a balance of about $368,000. Since we are going to be authorizing debt, there'll be cost of issuance associated with that, so we're rounding up to 375. From that 375, we're subtracting out the $263,159 for the grant that we were awarded. We're subtracting out the $15,000 that the library has on hand to contribute. And that brings us to an additional authorization of $96,841. So that is the appropriation that we would be looking to add. Now, we don't have anything tonight to authorize, so this is more of a discussion item. However, if we do want to move forward with it, we would have a bond ordinance prepared, similar to the one that you see tonight. In that bond ordinance, the total would be $375,000, and it would have language that indicates that 263 is coming from the grant, $15,000 was a contribution from the library, and that the balance is $96,841.
Right, so for basically $100,000 in new money, we're buying an overhaul and fixing all the problems with the HVAC system. We're building this new room that the library has desperately wanted for several years. And we're building a new desk within the library for the kids. Is that correct? Dara?
Yes, that's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Sorry, we're also getting a generator and a new sump pump.
Yeah. All right, listen, it sounds reasonable to me.
I would just like to say, ever since I was the library liaison a few years ago, we've been talking about needing a new HVAC system. So it's long overdue. Generator, if we need a new generator, we obviously want to have that in case of any kind of emergency. We could always have that up and running.
And I know our emergency services people are very pro getting that generator installed. That's one of their, we want these. So I think that's important.
Absolutely. And as far as the flex room goes, you know, one of the things I've constantly heard is we need more meeting space, and that would help to serve that purpose as well as among a number of other educational purposes, from what I remember.
Absolutely. And I would like to add, though, I'm keenly aware with the project, obviously, being the liaison, but I discussed with Lisette and understand, just want to give an opportunity for it to clarify further that we need this, otherwise we actually may lose the grant because we need it for this year. So thanks to Chris finding a way to make this happen. I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you.
So
I'd also like to add, the library consistently remains open during the summertime, even if there is an outage due to a summer storm, and that creates a cooling shelter, as well as the library was used. It is used at other times when we need an emergency shelter, and the library has always been good in its cooperation with the borough. And so this is, I think, money we're very well spent.
Okay, so if there is consensus from the governing body to proceed, then Chris will reach out to our bond counsel to prepare the necessary documentation and have that listed for the next meeting.
So let me put it in a formal way. Is there objection to moving forward?
No, Mayor.
Hearing none, so moved.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
If the council doesn't mind, I think the Rex 5-year plan is probably, the presentation, everything's going to take a little bit of time. I think we could move some of the smaller pieces, if that's okay, if we just change the order slightly.
Yeah, I'd even
Would that
be,
be all right?
I'd even say let's save the rec presentation until the very end of the meeting if possible, if we can just get rid of all the other stuff. And this way we can give recreation unfettered attention at the end. I know I'm gonna have a lot to
All
say. So.
All right, Lizette, if we could move to item D.
Okay, with your HPC, Historic Preservation Commission, the governing body had recently, over the summer, appointed a student as an alternate member. And the way Historic Preservation Commissions work, and they're established under the municipal land use law, is that you have your regular members. One has to be well-versed in construction and architectural history, another in local history, and the rest are your residents, and they serve 4-year terms. Your alternates serve 2-year terms. And by having this student in the alternate position, the student will, they're usually seniors moving on, they won't be able to fulfill the 2-year term. So what many municipalities do is, since they're trying to engage students in history, especially history in their municipalities, they create a student liaison position in which they're a non-voting member, but they participate as needed, depending on the needs of the commission, and that enables a 2-year alternate position to be available to any resident in town. So if the governing body wishes to proceed, it is a very simple ordinance to just add a student liaison for a 1-year term and codify that.
So is the council, are there questions, comments? I think this is a no-brainer, something we should just do, but I could be wrong. Any comments or questions or objections or concerns?
I would just say if they do find a sophomore or junior, we can easily reappoint that person for the following years.
Correct.
Yeah. So if there is no objection, we will we'll move forward with Lizette. Lizette, we would be amending the ordinance, correct?
Yes, it would just be an ordinance, and we'll list it on the 22nd for an official introduction.
So is there objection? Hearing none, so moved.
Okay. Next is an ordinance entitled for a direct deposit mandate. Back in 2014, there was a state statute that authorized local governments to mandate direct deposit for employees. And when we updated our personnel manual, we did reference having a direct deposit mechanism. And so while there's certain existing employees that may prefer to maintain a regular live check, the purpose of this ordinance, if the governing body wishes to proceed to introduce and codify by the end of the year, is to have a direct deposit mandate for all employees that are new hires, and for current employees, only current employees, give them the opportunity to opt out. This is just a housekeeping tool to just to codify language that's in our personnel manual.
Council, is there comments, questions, debate?
Okay, so if someone wants the paper check, they wouldn't be prohibited from having the paper check. Is that correct?
Correct. For existing employees, anybody new coming in the door, they'll know from day one they have to receive direct deposit.
Okay. No.
All right, is there any other objection or question or comment? Hearing none, so moved. Lizette, let's jump to G if we could, and then we'll come back to F.
Okay. So I had received a request from the fire department seeking to have a holiday gathering. And as part of the recently updated alcohol policy, the request comes to you through my office, but this is something that the governing body has to decide on whether or not to grant it. And their holiday party is for Saturday, December 11th from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Company 1.
To me, this sounds like a no-brainer, but I might be wrong. Is there objection, discussion, debate by council?
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, so without objection, it's so approved. Let's move back to the outdoor dining ordinance.
Mayor, I'll take this. We passed around today per the mayor and council's request. I prepared a seasonal outdoor dining ordinance that would run, I believe, from April through October. The ordinance was for some of the recommendations that we received, and also reviewing some other seasonal outdoor dining ordinances. I drafted an ordinance. I provided it to Tom Behrens, our zoning officer. He provided some comments, suggestions. Those were incorporated. There were minor ones, but they were incorporated. So the ordinance that you have in front of you today, or the one that was submitted today, include Mr. Behrens's comments and suggestions. The questions that I have, and obviously if the mayor and council has any questions, but the two questions that I have, or the direction that I need from the mayor and council, is on page 3 of the ordinance, which is paragraph 5. And it says lighting, space heaters, fans, and music shall be permitted. Does the mayor and council wish to have music permitted in the seasonal outdoor dining ordinance? It was in there, but I don't know if that's something that should be, if there's restaurants near residential, they would be subject to our noise ordinance, which we should talk about for another day, because I was looking at our noise ordinance and we have been kicking around changing that ordinance for the last 5, 6, 7 years. But not certain if you guys want to have music played outdoors. The second thing that I want some direction on is the next paragraph, hours of operation. What I put in there now, I don't like, and I think it's subjective, and Tom Behrens agrees, and that just allows the zoning officer to decide per application what their, how long they should be open for. The reason that was in there is because you may have one applicant that is away from residential and can be open longer, and another applicant that is close to residential and you may want to close earlier. You certainly can leave it like that, but I just think it's subjective. And I think maybe you guys want a set time to end outdoor dining. And what time is that? Again, I leave that up to you. Besides that, I'm fine with it the way it is, but obviously it's here for discussion, and any of your comments, suggestions, incorporations, I'll be happy to include.
I open it to the council.
Is there a way to make an exception for that one operation that's away from residential?
For what, Councilwoman?
Stay
What exception for
open
what?
later.
Well, right now, that's how it's read, that Mr. Behrens, the zoning officer, would dictate on each application how long they would stay open.
I mean, if we made it one set time.
One set time, then, right, everybody would close their outdoor dining at that set time.
Wants to know if we can make an exception, if we can do a set time and then accept the one business.
Well, what do you mean, what business?
I don't know. Michelle, what are you talking about?
I thought you said there was one away from residential.
No, I'm saying hypothetically.
Okay.
If one was away and one was close by, you know, should that one have the ability to stay open later, because it's not interfering with anything. So I was just giving you a hypothetical. I have no idea who's going to take advantage of this and who's not. But I think Tom and I agree that the way it's written right now is subjective, and he would feel more comfortable not having that obligation of deciding the time and have a set time
Agreed.
for everyone to close.
I think it can only cause trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
I would recommend to the council either 10, 10:30, or 11. I think 11 is a little too late, but maybe the council doesn't feel that way.
I mean, we could do different times for the Friday and Saturday night rush, right? So we can do a little later Friday and Saturday
Yes.
nights, and the rest of the time, say 10:30 seems like a reasonable time.
I think that's a great idea. President
No
Kemper.
objection to that.
Also, the dining ordinance we have from April to October. Didn't we talk about maybe extending it past October? I know for this year, we talked about going through the rest of the year, but why are we stopping October 1st?
So this was really something that had to do when I met with the professionals and tried to give them some guidelines for the creation of this. And we wanted to make sure that it did have an ending time and a reasonable beginning time. We could, instead of going from April to October, we could go from May to the end of October, November. But by its nature, it needs to have a reasonable beginning and a reasonable end of 6 to 7 months. But Tom may have different thoughts on.
And I'm not arguing one way or another, so don't misunderstand me. I'm just trying to understand, is there a reason for this? Is there a reason that you want it to end in October? Why do we not have it year round? If a restaurant and a facility wants to invest and maybe build a nice, pretty outdoor space, couldn't we have it year round?
Because
I'll answer that.
they can't do that.
Yeah, so Councilman, then it would become a permanent structure, and then it becomes a zoning issue. And then they would have to go for zoning approvals, parking or variances, so forth like that. So if it's year round, it becomes a permanent structure, and now you're talking site plan approval. This doesn't allow site plan approval.
Okay. So Tom, are you recommending on the music that it is either clarify or that, because I read it and I don't know whether it's live music or is a karaoke or what is it?
It just says music, and it would be dictated to your noise ordinance. So I just want clarification. Do you want music to be played outside or do you not? If restaurants aren't playing it inside in their restaurant, I don't know why it would have to be played outside. But again, it's in there now, but it's open for your discussion.
So one of the interesting things is Sunny T currently has outside music, and I just assumed that it was in our ordinance, but now I'm assuming it's not in our ordinance. In their outside dining area. It would appear to me that I would assume that it would be better that we did not approve outdoor music than we did, but that's my feeling. What's the council's feeling?
I'm against the outdoor music personally, so I wouldn't vote for it.
Any other member of council have a?
What about outdoor music, like we do the late hours for Friday or Saturday, as opposed to during the weekdays?
And maybe
my issue. I'm sorry. My issue with music is that it can carry. On a cloudy evening, you'll hear it 5, 6, 8, 10 blocks away, and it can be loud. And just because one person likes the music doesn't mean that other people like it. There may be music I like that I'd be fine with, but music you like and you'd be fine with, we won't agree with each other. I think that's something that we don't need to, it's a can of worms we don't need to open up. I would say let's just stay away from the music. We're giving these businesses the chance to have the seasonal outdoor dining, which they didn't really before the pandemic. So we're certainly working with them to try to increase traffic for them and so forth. But I think the music is going to cause a lot of troubles in our small town.
Any other member of council?
I mean, I do agree with Darius' potential creating a kind of worms. I'm just wondering if it could be limited to a certain amount of like certain hours between 6 and 8. I don't know. And, you know, it will help them attract more business. People will probably enjoy it. Trying to find a balance, understanding that there is the risk that Dario mentions, which I agree as well. But again, wanted to throw it out there.
Also, maybe certain decibel levels.
Well, we have our noise ordinance in effect now, and that it would just be with the noise ordinance. And then I think you're really complicating it now, talking about decibels on this, but anything, then a house party right next door is subject to the town decibel ordinance.
Right.
It becomes now a little bit more. And in music, you know, you're also talking about enforcement. If you're talking, hey, we're only going to let you go for 2 hours, and it's 8:30, you get a call, you know, the police are going there and they're enforcing it. So, you know, again, discretion to the mayor and council.
No, that's a valid point about the enforcement. I take it back. I think it's potentially more risky now when you mentioned that.
So why don't we just take a straw vote? Council President Knigo and I are against it, but that doesn't mean anything. Councilwoman Monsanto Cohen has reservations now. Where are we, Councilman Kaufman, Councilman Gaudier, and Councilwoman Kinsella?
I guess I would say skip the music.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have the authority and the ability to later on revisit this if we choose to. But I think for the initial ordinance, we should, you know, prohibit the music. I think that's just wise.
The hours of operation, Monday, Thursday, 10 o'clock. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10:30. Did I get that correct?
I think Friday, Saturday was till 11.
11.
And everywhere
Friday,
else.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What did I?
Friday, Saturday to 11, and I would say Sunday through Thursday, maybe 10. I did say 10:30 earlier. I don't know. I'll leave it up to the rest of the council. 10 seems to be like a reasonable time, but it's up to you.
And they're going to
guys.
close at 10 anyway because they're not going to have any business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Right.
it's not like we're hurting them.
I also
agree
don't
with
think like come 10 o'clock, if you're in the middle of your meal, they're not going to swoop you up and
Right.
you know, send you inside.
Nobody,
Just-
yeah.
We're not
nobody-
seating anyone else.
Exactly.
Is there anything else in, well, just to go back, right now, the executive order for outdoor dining is still in effect. The governor lost all of his powers with regard to COVID except for 7. One of the 7 powers that's still in the governor's hands is the executive order allowing outdoor dining. That goes until December 31st. So there's a good chance that the governor is going to extend that executive order. And if he does so, we'll just adopt another resolution by the end of the year in accordance with that executive order, carrying it forth until, you know, this goes through. I mean, he may not anymore because now it's open. Restaurants are open at 100% capacity, but that's one of the things that he still has the power to. Besides that, if there's any other comments, questions, suggestions, let me know. I'd be happy to
Did
incorporate.
resolve the start and finish.
I was just going to ask that.
I think the end of October sounds fine, but then I would do it from May through the end of October. But if the council wants to do April to the end of October, that would also be okay. What is the council's preference?
I
would
vote
say
for April to October 31st.
April, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Fine.
Are we all good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, April through the end of October. So April 1st to October 31st. All right. Mr. Sarlo, anything else?
No, if it's all good. Now we're the only 2 that I had questions on. So I'll
So,
prepare, I'll change it, and then it'll be ready for a first reading at the next meeting. Anything that we are doing now, we need to have a first and second reading by the end of the year. If not, we'd have to wait to next year to adopt. So it's important we'll get this on.
Okay, Lizette, as soon as Mr. Sarlo has a revised copy, can you have, or you or Judy, could you send a copy of the ordinance to the restaurants that have currently availed themselves of this? That would be Feathers, that would be Sanducci's, that would be Sunny Teas. I don't know if Sunny Teas would fall under this ordinance because I think in the land use board, they were granted outside use as part of their land use agreement, but maybe send it to them too. Send it to who else? Killam, I believe. And is that all the restaurants that Sanducci's, a River Edge Diner, Sunny Teas, Killam? I think they were the only four that actually availed themselves of it over the last couple of years. And certainly, of course, it's available to any other restaurant that would like to see it. But if we could make an effort to send them a copy with the council and mayor's compliments and inform them that we will be entertaining it in a first ordinance on the 22nd.
And we'll confirm with the building department, the establishments that have the required permit.
Okay, that'd be great. That would be great. All right, we're going to table briefly, not really table, but suspend for a moment the recreation plan. We're gonna move that to the end of the meeting. So could I have a?
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt again.
No.
I think we should consider tabling the rec discussion until the next meeting. Our cultural affairs liaison is missing tonight. And although Lisa has been rec liaison for the past year, before that, Ellen was rec liaison for several years. So I think she's got a lot of information and history here, and I think she should be part of this discussion. So I'd like to table this because I don't want to be unfair to anybody, including people who are here, including Ms. Baldanza, people from the Rec Commission. I don't want to catch them off guard with the comments I have, and I have lengthy comments. There's a lot to discuss here with this 5-year plan. So that's my thought. It's up to everybody if you guys want to continue, but
So
I can tell you it's going to take some time.
This would be an unofficial motion, so we're just going to take a straw vote because it's for discussion, so it doesn't need to be formally tabled. Is there objection to postponing this topic until November 22nd? Is there objection? Hearing none, so moved. Carolyn, thank you for being prepared for tonight. But we're going to allow Ellen to be a part of the conversation, and she can't be tonight, and that's not her fault. She had a prior obligation, so we'll resume on. We'll discuss this topic on November 22nd.
And I want to apologize to everybody who's waited here patiently, including Carolyn. It wasn't that I waited. I read through everything carefully this afternoon. I spent about 4 hours going through everything, and I wasn't able to get in touch with anybody beforehand to reach out. And I've been kind of struggling with it, but I really think that Ellen should be here for this discussion. And I'd like to give everybody an opportunity to listen to the work. Okay.
Okay, before we move to opening for the public, I'd like to read a letter that I've received from the Department of Transportation dated October 21st. Dear Mayor Papaleo, I'm pleased to inform you that the River Edge Borough has been selected to receive funds from the New Jersey Department of Transportation, NJDOT, fiscal year 2022 municipal aid program for Bogart Road Section 6 project in the amount of $221,000. They go on to talk about how competitive this was. There were 625 applications. And so we want to thank State of New Jersey Department of Transportation for this grant. Lizette, I will put this letter in my folder and it will be available to you tomorrow. So we're always glad to get money from someone other than our taxpayers, our land property taxes. All right, so could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kinsella and a second from Councilman Gaudier to open to the public on any item on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilman Kinigo.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, Michelle?
So if anyone has a question, just raise your hand and I will allow you to speak, or you could type a question in the chat box, comment, etc. Does not look like there's any questions.
Okay, could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kaufman and a second from Council President Kanigo to close to the public on any item on the agenda?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to move the two appointments, personnel changes together. Could I, when I finish reading it, could I have a motion from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen and a second from Councilwoman Kinsella? Two items. Approve the resignation of Anthony Prezio, Department of Public Works, effective November 5th, 2021. Approve the salary increase of Sergeant Mark Abate from an annual salary of $132,248 to $142,828 due to performing the duties of a higher rank effective November 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we come to monthly reports. The tax collector and library board, one from October, the other from November, which are available to the public, and we're just making the public aware of that. Now we come to first reading. There are four first reading ordinances. So could I have a motion from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen and a second from Councilman Gaudier after I finish reading ordinance 21-26. Ordinance 21-26, an ordinance to amend chapter 208 of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge entitled Fees.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Before the roll call, could I have our business administrator, Ms. Apertola, if you could please, for the public's edification, explain the purpose of this ordinance.
At our last meeting, we reviewed fees that I had all the departments look at. And this is just some housekeeping, to update certain fees, but mainly to remove fees that are on the books for items that are no longer provided or are inconsistent with state statute.
Okay, is there debate? We are open to debate. Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-27. In a moment, could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kinsella and a second from Councilwoman Kaufman to move this ordinance onto for discussion and vote? Ordinance 21-27, an ordinance to amend Article 2, Chapter 114 of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge entitled Alcoholic Beverages. Before we have that motion in second, Ms. Apertola, could you please, for the public's edification, explain the purpose of this ordinance?
This ordinance piggybacks the fee ordinance. In going over the liquor license fees, some of the language was outdated or needed clarification. So this just cleans up the section of the alcoholic beverage control portion of our general code.
This is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Kanigo,
Oh, wait, we didn't
It's a-
move in second. My bad.
So moved. So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, could I have Council President Kenigo move, once I finish reading ordinance 21-28, and Councilwoman Kaufman second, ordinance 21-28, an ordinance to fix the salary, wages, and compensation of the officers and employees of the Borough of River Edge in the County of Bergen and the State of New Jersey for the year 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Now I'm doing it correctly. Okay, before we go to a vote or debate, Ms. Apertola.
This ordinance is to update the compensation for the position of Borough Clerk.
Is there debate? This is debatable. Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, if I could have Councilwoman Montesano Cohen move and Council President Kenigo second, ordinance 21-29, bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition of new self-contained breathing apparatus equipment for the use of the fire department in and by and for the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $280,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Apertola.
As discussed earlier in the meeting, the purpose of this bond ordinance is to provide funding for the Scott Pack replacements for our fire department.
This is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, could I have a motion after I do the presentation from Councilwoman Indira and a second from Councilman Gaudier? Resolutions 21-303 through 21- hold on. Lizette, there's a typo in the agenda. The last one, Q, is written 31-319. Does that need to be corrected, or is that just, is that a non-issue?
It's a non-issue, it's just typographical error. All the other resolutions are consistent.
All right, so item 12Q reads 31-319. It should read 21-319. Could I have a motion to move as a block resolutions 21-303 through 21-319?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Could our finance chair, Councilwoman Kaufman, please move 21-320?
Payment of bills at a regular meeting of the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on November 8, 2021. Be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge approve the following expenditures. Current fund, $9,319,016.89. Capital fund, $773,502.26. Grant fund, $1,833.52. Animal control fund, $1,340.60. Trust other fund, $13,156.89. Open space fund, $130.50. Payroll fund, $241,481.17. Developers escrow fund, $1,412.50. Self-Insurance Trust Fund, $12,844.68. Recreation Trust Fund, $9,423.90. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Before we call for roll call, Ms. Apertola, please correct me if I'm incorrect in anything. The $9 million from the current fund is due to the payment to our two public schools, River Edge and Riverdale. The majority of it is to them for the public edification. We are obligated under statute to collect the taxes that they create and then to pay them usually on a quarterly basis. So the lion's share, I think about 8 million of the 9 million or more is a quarterly payment to the schools of the taxes they raised. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. If anyone wants to look at the bill list, the payment to Riverdale Regional is over 4.2 million and River Edge Public Schools over 2.9. And then another payment of $236,000. There is no wiggle room. There is no discretion. These payments are due when they're due, and it's every municipality's responsibility to collect the tax and then disperse it accordingly.
All right. Roll call.
Councilman Kanigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Sano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we move to, and we can do these together, item 14 and 15, new business and old business. Does any member of council have new or old business that they wish to bring before the council?
I just have one thing, Mayor.
Sure, Councilwoman Kinsella.
Our rec director will be sending out a holiday house decorating contest flyer very soon, or she plans to this week. And I mentioned to her that perhaps we can add a holiday ornament contest for the kids. So when we do the lighting of the tree, we can select, or the community can select one of the winners, and we can put it on the tree during the lighting of the tree ceremony.
So what is the council's opinion on this new business item?
Sounds good.
Go for it.
Sure.
All right. All right then. Any other new or old business item? All right. We now need to open to the public on any issue that the public wishes to raise. Could we have a motion from Councilwoman Kinsella and a second from Councilman Godier?
So moved.
Second.
This is not debatable. Roll call.
Councilman Kanigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Woman Kaufman.
Yes.
Woman Kinsella.
Yes.
Woman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, Michelle.
So if anyone has a question, just raise your hand or comment. I don't think there's going to be any.
Is there anyone here?
Possibly. But I think it's just the chief, Walker, so.
All right. All right then. Could I have a motion from Councilman Montesano Cohen, a second from the council president, to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Kanigo.
Yes.
Councilman Godier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, do we have any council comments?
Mayor, I'd just like to welcome, as you did already, and to the River Edge team / family. We look forward to working with her.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. I also want to
Sure.
welcome Anne to the borough. I want to remind everyone that Veterans Day event is this Thursday at Memorial Park at 9:15 a.m. and both the 5th and 6th grade schools from both middle school will be in attendance. I am planning to attend just because the kids are going to be there, and I think it's a great event. And I also want to congratulate Councilwoman Kaufman and Councilwoman-elect Malalari on their success that yet to be confirmed.
Thank you.
Any other council comments? I'd like to thank Councilwoman Montesano Cohen and Councilwoman Kaufman for being representing the council and mayor at the veterans ceremony. Due to work obligations, I will not be there. And I believe Councilwoman Kaufman, you'll be standing in for my comments, for the borough's comments. Excellent. Thank you both for doing that. And thank you for doing that, Councilwoman Kaufman. All right. We have a resolution to go into closed session and exclude the public. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kinsella and a second from Councilman Gaudier to resolution 21-321, resolution to go into closed session, exclude the public, closed session docket number 21-11/8-1. Title of item, attorney-client privilege easement maintenance.
So moved.
Second.
This is not debatable. Roll call.
Councilman Canigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, could I have a motion from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen and a second from Councilwoman Kaufman to adjourn the public meeting?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilman Canigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, everybody, if we could adjourn for about 5 minutes and then reconvene for the closed session.
Are you going home, Tom?
Yeah, I'm gonna run home. I should come back
So-
up the
So let's do 10
9:55.
minutes. Give you an extra couple minutes. Let's do 10 minutes.
All right,
We
so
can do it at
9:55? 8, you want to do 8?
When do we do 8 o'clock?
All right, then. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.